Hey guys, Clay Edwards here. I want to tell you real quick about RC Lawn Care. My buddy Richard Coley is going to be the guy you need to contact for all of your lawn maintenance needs. You can reach him at 601-502-3529. They offer roof to curb service, blowing off the roof, gutter cleaning, basic lawn care including mow, trim, edge, and blow, full lawn cleanup, trash removal, garden supplies delivered, pine straw installs, driveway and sidewalk pressure washing. If grass is growing, you need RC Lawn Care Mowing. Again, 601-502-3529. Richard Coley at RC Lawn Care, proud sponsor of the Clay Edwards Show podcast.
Sugar added talk radio. Such little sugar. This son of a gun is in ketosis, I tell you. No sugar. Ain't no sugar in my tank. You won't be calling me Sugar Clay nobody. All these boxers that calls themselves Sugar. Sugar Ray this. Sugar Ray that. Ain't calling me Sugar Clay. Nothing. And that may be the dumbest entrance I've ever had to this show. Good morning. Welcome to the Free Range Human Show of Choice. You know what you are. If you're a free range human, you know it. You can't be held down. You can't be told what to do. With the resistance. Hey, every now and then, I did this after the Michael Guest runoff. I said, hey, look, man, when you're the resistance, you're going to take more wins than losses. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. You're going to take more losses than wins. Otherwise, you wouldn't be the resistance. We get ours every now and then. It's tough, man. It is. I had a good talk with Jameson after that, and it's a conversation we've had a couple times. It was as we passed like ships in the night up here between our shows. And, it's like I try to be careful jumping behind every resistance candidate because, frankly, I don't agree with every resistance candidate. I think I heard Kim Wade say it one time, you talk about, or he said, every now and then we're going to have to accept who's in office. And we're going to have to figure out a way to work with them versus kick them out, in so many words. And that's where I'm at. With Tate Reeves, there's a lot I don't like. I don't like this corporate welfare, paying people to come do business here. But I probably understand that better than, I get it. At the end of the day, I guess. I don't like it, but I get it. And I just, as a guy that spent so much time in the service industry, spent so much time in the nightclub business, the restaurant business, the music business, the concert business, all my friends that are attached to that one way or another, even you white liberals in Fondren that hate me so much. I was fighting for y'all. There's a lot of restaurant owners in Jackson that hate me because I talk about Jackson. I'm fear-mongering. I'm not fear-mongering. I just repeat the news. Whether it's Darkhorse Press, WLBT, Jackson Jambalaya, I don't watch the other ones. Those are the only ones I keep up with. I don't watch the news anyway. Follow them on social media. You get all the news you need. Then some. And I regurgitate the news. I give you my opinion on it. I give you the unadulterated facts. Or well, I don't know if Clay's opinions are facts, but they're pretty truthful. Anyway. But I just can't let it go. And I've tried. I even had a conversation with a good friend of mine who's a big Tate supporter. He's a local politician here. I even had a come to Jesus with him Saturday morning about it. I said, I probably should let it go because he's going to be our governor for the next 4 years, one way or another. I mean, I can't imagine. If Jim Hood couldn't beat him, Brandon Presley ain't beating him. I don't believe so. I mean, Presley's going to run a hell of a campaign. He's going to get a lot of money dumped into it. Anyway, I digress. We got a whole year to talk about that. But I said I should probably let it go, but I just can't. I can't let what happened during COVID go. I can't let the nonsense they put our restaurants, bars, and entertainers through. All my friends that play acoustic guitar at restaurants couldn't work for months on end. Hair salons barbershops. Shout out to my barber. Let me come to his house because, I'm a public figure. I always got to look good. If you know, you know. Lori Lightfoot, mayor of Chicago, said that when she shut down all the barbershops and salons, then got caught getting her hair did, and said, and I mean, good Lord, she looked like she stuck her finger in a light socket. I don't think it could have looked any worse. But Beetlejuice. She said, I'm a public figure. I'll get Chokwe one thing. I got to call a spade a spade. Chokwe did not stay lined up during COVID. And he usually keeps himself pretty well groomed. I may have been getting my hair did more than Chokwe was during COVID. But all of the people I fight for, I was a quote unquote essential employee. I didn't miss a paycheck. The car business donated a lot of money to Tate. They weren't going to close down. I was a benefactor of that. I could have just kept my mouth shut and gone on about my business, but that's what I chose not to do. That's what I chose not to do. I was fighting for y'all, even you that I don't like. I don't like you blue-haired liberals no more than you like me. I think you're all going to hell. But that's just me. All right, if you want to chime in today, the Guns of Gear text line, 769-241-1944. The phone line, 601-879-0002. My good friend, Miss Therese Apel, was in the courtroom yesterday for the John Sullivan rape trial in Rankin County, Mississippi, the tax assessor there. I literally, as I sat down in the seat this morning, about 14 minutes ago, I texted Therese and was like, hey, will you come on the show? Can I call you? And let's discuss this. My mom has been in attendance every day. I was in attendance the other day. I'll have some more family in attendance today. When you have young daughters and you see what that guy did, and I just want to clear this, the victim was not my child. So it sounds like we were all in there for that. I want to make sure I'm clear there. But I think people need to be fighting for this. C.J. LeMasters has been on this story like a pit bull. You can only hope that when you're done, and I disagree with C.J. on a lot. Talk about not forgiving people for things. Him snitching out people for being on the reservoir during COVID. I don't let that go either. And he knows as much. But you can only hope that C.J. LeMasters sinks his teeth into your situation when you're the victim, like he has this one. So shout out to C.J. LeMasters at WLBT. Therese was in there yesterday. She's got a great story on Darkhorse Press. You need to go read it. I'm going to have her here on the phone at the top of the next segment. She's calling in during the break. Looking forward to hearing that. And again, I'm going to say it like I said the other day. I'm going to say this before she gets on the air here, because this is Clay Edwards' opinion. I only speak for myself. John Sullivan's a piece of crap. I don't care what the jury finds. I don't care what goes down in that courtroom. You screw around with a 19-year-old girl and you're in your 50s, you're a piece of crap. That ain't opinion. That ain't conjecture. I don't need a verdict to come to that conclusion. Rankin County needs a reckoning with some of this stuff. I love Rankin County. I ain't, but I love it because I like to think this kind of stuff. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. What I'm saying is we need to make sure we're punishing folks when it does happen. Let's see here. Let me jump in my notes real quick. I got to log in to my Evernote. Thank you, Sean Yurt-Karan, for turning me on to Evernote. It has been a game changer. I don't have to sit here and try to read my own handwriting anymore. I can type it into my phone and boom, it pops up on the computer. That is very, very nifty. So again, we'll get to the John Sullivan rape trial update here in the next segment. I've got so much I want to talk about today. It's just me in here today. Sean will be back with us tomorrow. Some of the stuff we're going to try to get into today, depending on how this next interview takes the show and you guys' involvement, your engagement. I want to talk about the government. Joe Biden, in himself, as far as I'm concerned, is trying to get access to Donald Trump's Twitter account. And Elon Musk is refusing to give it to him. He's being fined $350,000 a day as he refuses to hand over that information. Where did they come up with that number? That's all right, so not obeying the government, that's a $350,000 a day fine. Who came up with that? I got questions. For show. Daddy got questions. And I'll say this about Elon. I don't always agree with everything Elon does. The X platform, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. People are complaining about the lack of free speech. I'm going to tell you what, I've said a lot on there. I've never been, now I'll get a little notice every now and then that says most Xers or Twitters or tweets or whatever don't speak in this language. Because, I'm not afraid to use a cuss word or call somebody an idiot every now and then. But I post it. I've never had an X or a tweet deleted. Even under the old regime, to be honest with you. But I did self-censor a lot because I didn't want to get my account banned. I deleted my old account after January 6th when they blocked Donald Trump. Then I said, I'm sure there's an episode here somewhere. I said, as much as I hate it, you still got to be on the battlefield. In this culture war, the battlefield is Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. If you're not on the battlefield, you're not in the war. So I started a new account. Anyway, so shout out to Elon Musk for standing up to this crooked banana republic and Joe Biden by not turning over Trump's Twitter. I'm not saying he won't eventually, but he's accumulating a $350,000 fine every day that he doesn't. This regime has so much to lose if they lose this election. So does Donald Trump. We're going to talk about it more. Coming up next, I got Therese Apel, DarkhorsePressNow.com. Let's take a quick break, come back, reset, and talk John Sullivan rape trial out there in Rankin County. This is the Clay Edwards Show. All right, welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. On the line here, I have got with DarkhorsePressNow.com, my friend and yours, Miss Therese Apel. Good morning, Therese.
Good morning, Clay. How are you?
I am good. It's Thursday. We got one more day left to the weekend. That's always my time to shine. So we'll see how it all shakes out. Hey, look, so you were in the courtroom yesterday, and again, thank you for covering this trial. You and CJ have been the only mainstream media outlets to get in there, so I appreciate it. I think we need to shine as much light on this as possible. But John Sullivan, the soon-to-be former Rankin County tax assessor, was accused of rape back last year. It was the night before the St. Paddy's Day parade. I remember that vividly. He was leaving Byram, got pulled over, got a DUI in Byram, said some pretty awful things in the interview room there in Byram. I was there in the courtroom when the Byram PD, the Byram police officer, testified.
Yeah.
And just some of the things he said, they didn't ask him a whole lot. They just asked him basically at the end of the day, and I guess they were trying to keep out of there that he got a DUI. They weren't allowed to mention that. They were just allowed to mention that he got pulled over. He was drunk, but they didn't say DUI. I get it, from a legal perspective. But he had asked him what he was doing tonight. He said, man, it was going to be a night full of jacuzzi, and I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact quote, but he's paraphrasing, getting some of the P word, and lust. And I'm just like, yes. What kind of sick SOB uses the word lust to describe what he's going to do that night? And then, of course, you just pile in all the things that you hear about him. And I know people say things about me, too, so it is what it is. But then knowing what went on that night, there was a friend of the family in that vehicle when he got pulled over in Byram, so I know what the state of mind was. Just knowing all I know, I haven't talked about this much. I wanted to wait till the trial started, and that's where we're at. And you were in there yesterday, and I was in there the day before, and I got to hear all of the initial. I was in there the opening day. What was that, Monday? So, and I got to hear, this is from his lawyer talking about, and he's going to try to paint the case as nice as he can for his defendant. And even that he was having to describe. And guys, if y'all got kids in the car, you probably want to change the channel, or maybe let them hear it. They probably should hear this, especially if you have young girls in the car. Let know kind of old dirty bastards are out there. Talks about her being 19, pulling down her clothes, giving her oral sex, this, that, and the other. And of course, that's where they say it stops. And I was looking at her family and friends of the family up there, and just the body language on them made me so angry and sick to see.
Yeah.
Anyway, so let's pick up there. Yesterday was an interesting day. Apparently, they found out one of the jurors was his friend, and they've had to kick this juror off.
Yes, and it was interesting because I had a tip that there was a juror that may have been compromised, and so I was watching the jury, and there was one guy that I was sure that wasn't it. And this is just me just totally calling it wrong, because he looked so angry. And, he would stare down John Sullivan with this, angry look on his face. Or maybe that was just his face. I don't know. But the point is, I was like, well, it's not him, because that's probably a girl dad right there. He's mad. And then he was the one that was missing after the break right around lunchtime.
Really?
Yeah, but I understand this guy actually does business with John Sullivan. And there were some questions about how he got through and that kind of thing. So I think I don't know if we'll hear more about that or not. Usually when a juror is dismissed, they're just dismissed.
Sure.
But it does, when you get a jury of 11 men and one woman, there was some good work there by the defense helping place the jurors during voir dire. So as far as for their side, it's not an ideal jury by any means for a rape trial.
12 men, 12 men, 2 women?
11, well...
It can't be even number, is it?
No, as far as the actual jury goes, I don't know how it breaks down once you throw in the...
alternates?
The alternates. So, but I think the most important thing that happened yesterday was the victim testified. And, of course, if you read my story, we have to say alleged victim because the trial's not complete yet. He's not convicted yet. But so she gets up there, and she was a strong witness. But it's very clear that her memory was missing for a large part of that night. And if you've ever been blackout drunk, you could understand kind of the way she was talking, because it was like she would remember a blip of something, or, she remembers coming to, or, she doesn't remember all the conversation, but she remembers bits and pieces.
Unfortunately, I have been blackout drunk. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Well, and I feel like it was kind of, when we walked out of the courtroom, there were a lot of people that sympathized with her, because the defense was trying to draw the line like, okay, this is as far as you remember, and then you don't remember anything after that. So wait, you just said you don't remember anything after that. So how do you remember that? But the fact is, if you've ever been someone who's been either, it could happen under dentist drugs. It's the way it works. So she was to an extent, a very sympathetic witness, but she was also very strong. And so you heard it from her perspective. And there was an FBI agent that testified after they played his interview with John Sullivan, and he kept stressing, of course she freaked out. She woke up with a 52-year-old man on top of her. And that was very strong in the courtroom as well, because I think for the women in there anyway, we all thought of ourselves when we were 19. And as much as we hate to admit it, I say we, as much as some people may hate to admit it, there is a yuck factor for a 19-year-old girl when there's a 52-year-old man she doesn't know on top of her.
Well, that's what made me so fighting mad when I was in the courtroom.
Yeah.
The other day was just as the father of a 21-year-old daughter.
Right.
It's like how maybe I'm different because I have a 21-year-old daughter. So as she gets older, my floor comes up for what I can even look at and think, oh, that's a hot girl.
Right.
Because I'm on into my mid 40s now. And anyway, I digress. But to me, that's gross that you can be that big of an age difference and look at somebody and say, oh, yeah, I'm going to hit that.
Right. Well, and the other thing we heard his interviews. So we heard the interview that was done the day after it happened, and we heard his statement that was made to NBI agent Ricky Flint. And in both of those, you know, he admitted to the things that he did. So there are 4 counts to the indictment, and they're pretty graphic. But, you know, the point is he did the things that he did, and then when she started to freak out, he grabbed her by the throat and threw her on the bed, according to his own testimony. So far, the prosecution has shown that each of these counts is met. But the defense only put up one witness, and it was a serology expert from the crime lab. And she testified to the fact that there was no, you know, semen, no bodily fluids, no sperm, that kind of thing. Except for in the girl's compression shorts, there was a DNA profile that didn't match John Sullivan. Now, they came back on redirect and said, could that have been from a previous encounter before? And, of course, because compression shorts, if I'm thinking of the right thing, you don't wear those every day. They're not like actual underwear. They're actually like a girdle type thing. They're just smooth. And so,
yeah, kind of like
that was probably from a previous encounter.
I wear compression underwear, compression shorts. That's the kind of the boxers or whatever you want to call it. I wear Under Armour, and they're very. I'm guessing they're very similar. They tighten things up a little bit. They're more firm. Yep. You know, so I could see how that could happen.
Yeah. So that said, you know, we heard from Sullivan's own mouth in those 2 interviews. They talked about possibly he would testify, but he didn't end up testifying, and the defense rested last night. So today we probably will see closing arguments, and then the jury will go out for deliberation. I do understand that even though there is only one woman on the jury, a lot of these guys may be girl dads. So it may not go quite as clear as it would seem when you've got a jury that's that male-heavy in a rape trial.
Yeah, I had, I don't want to say dinner, but I was at an election party event the other night in Brandon, and there were a couple area judges there, and of course I brought this up because I was curious to hear what they were hearing, and they wouldn't, of course, very professional, wouldn't tell me anything, but what they did say, they were divided. One believes he's going to be found guilty, one believes it'll be a hung jury, and that was just after day one. So I'm curious. And day one, the defense's opening arguments were very strong. Meredith Coxwell did as, and I want to make sure I say this. I thought Meredith Coxwell did a great job of trying to be as respectful to the victim's family as possible, just describing what he had to do. So I don't want to just be all gas, no brakes here, because I thought Meredith did a good job. And you know, maybe I'm a little biased because he's also Anthony Fox's appeals attorney. So, you know, but I thought he did a great job as far as being respectful to the family. And they just made a strong argument of maybe this was just a girl that got drunk and made a bad decision and regretted it. But I think that the evidence is coming out now that that's potentially not the case.
Well, and if you want to go by the letter of the law, the problem that you run into with that argument is that if she's that drunk, then consent doesn't count. You know, and so, you know, you at some point, and I'm not sure like what the legal limit is, but at some point, you know, a certain level of drunkenness takes away consent, and it is still taking advantage of someone. And that was one of the things the NBI agent in the first interview was asking him is, do you think it's possible that you just misunderstood her? You know, do you think it's possible that she was drunk and she didn't realize what was going on, and then all of a sudden when she did, she freaked out? So part of the thing, if John Sullivan is to walk away from this, it will have to be proven, I would assume, that there was some level of consent. But also they're going to have to overcome that hurdle of her being if she was as drunk as they say she was. And they say that her blood alcohol level at one point could have been as high as 0.195.
Good Lord.
So, you know, the fact remains that it's going to be an interesting day today, because I'll just be honest, the feeling in the courtroom was, as we watched, like at one point I realized I couldn't control my face, because listening to him describe it as if he's just this befuddled poor old guy that just didn't understand what was going on, it was hard to stomach, and I'm not sure what the jury felt, but I do know they were, for the most part, listening very closely. There was one point where they seemed, some of them, to zone out during the first interview, mainly because it was so repetitive. It was just over and over again. Do you think maybe this was a mistake? Do you think maybe you misunderstood her? And that kind of thing.
You know, I think, and they didn't really let too much of it get put in. Pretty much all of WLBT's reporting early on, all the videos they accumulated, pretty much none of that was admissible. But I think it's really important. I think what happened during the DUI and the interview in Byram, I think that is extremely important for painting a picture for his state of mind that night. That's why I have no sympathy at all. He called his shot. He said what he was going to, you know, he had a night full of jacuzzi, female body part, and lust ahead of him.
Right. Well, and in addition to that, though, I mean, there was some pretty graphic language in the interviews where he did talk about, you know, she's there in front of him, and how he proceeded from that point, including some of his gear may not have been functioning, and he tried to force it to function. And again, it got more graphic than a lot of trials I've been in. But that said, this is the first, you know, this is the first rape trial I've covered that was focused on the actual mechanics of the rape. So it just has been very uncomfortable to listen to say the least.
I'll tell you, and I came on the radio and said this Tuesday, the kudos, I can't find the words. I'm not articulate enough to find the words to express to the alleged victim and their family for following through with this and knowing what it was going to be like to have to go and relive that night in court and to face him, and with all the backlash and just the everything involved in that.
Yeah,
it's why I really, from other reasons as well, but it's why I really tend to side with them on this, because why would you put yourself through that if you didn't really believe it happened?
Right. There are women that are listening right now who wish we had that kind of courage. I'll just put it like that. You know, I think there are a lot of women that have found themselves in those kind of situations that, you know, for some reason or another couldn't speak up or didn't speak up or weren't willing to go through what it was going to take to get justice, didn't want to put themselves or their families through it, that kind of thing. And there is a level of bravery here that I think should be applauded.
Absolutely. What is she, 20, maybe 21 now? She was 19 when it happened. Therese, can you hold over for a few minutes and come back and cap this off?
Sure.
All right. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I've got Therese Apel on the line. We're discussing the soon-to-be former Rankin County tax assessor John Sullivan's rape trial out there in Rankin County. We'll be right back. All right. Welcome back in to the Clay Edwards Show. We're just going to jump straight back in here with Therese and wrap this up. Hey, Therese.
Yes. Hey.
Hey, you know, so one of the things we were just talking about during the break was, you know, I want people to understand here that when you think about, well, you know, she went home with an old man, what did she think was going to happen, or just whatever could be going through people's minds out there, and that's not how this whole scam works with these guys. He has a younger fella that recruits the, you know, nice looking little cute younger guy that recruits these younger girls and, hey, let's go back and party, jump in the jacuzzi, yada yada yada. And then, oh, here's the guy that has the house, and, you know, he's buying people drinks allegedly, and this, that, and the other. You know, so it's not as easy as saying, well, what did she think was going to happen? You know, she went back to a grown man's house, blah blah blah. I just know how guys think, so that's why I'm paraphrasing here. I've been a part of these idiot conversations before, and well, what was she wearing? She knew what she was doing, you know, all that crap. And, you know, then as your children get older, your female children get older, your opinions on these things drastically change.
Sure.
But, you know, so it's kind of a bait and switch type thing, whether it's intentional or not. That's what happened. And, you know, I wanted to make sure that we mentioned that.
Well, and I think, so to kind of outline what her night looked like, she went out for a girls' night with two of her friends and then one of those friends' mothers and her friend. So this wasn't like a get crazy type night. This was my friend's mom is going out with us. And then she's wearing a bodysuit, which just basically it's a shirt that buttons under your crotch so that it stays smooth. jeans and a cardigan and, like, Nikes. She wasn't dressed up, like, to go to the club or anything like that. So while they're there, they run into this other person, actually two guys that were friends of Sullivan's. And at some point, she testified that Sullivan came and offered to buy her a drink. And she was trying to ignore him, so she just told the bartender no. So when he was rejected, he just walked away. She didn't see him again until she had left the bar. They all left the bar, but one of this guy's friends said he was too drunk and he needed her to drive his truck home. So she got in his, they had talked about going to the hot tub. She thought she was going to this guy's house, this young guy's house. So her friends were in their car, and because she was the most sober, she drove the young guy's truck out to this house that she understood was his. When they got there, and they all got in the hot tub, she's still thinking she's at his house, and then John Sullivan shows up. And at some point, this younger guy brings her a beer. It's the only thing she remembers drinking at that house, and that's where her mind starts to black out. That's where she starts to lose memory. So during all this, it's like she goes from like 3 or 4 drinks at the bar to 1 beer at the house, according to her testimony. And I didn't hear the testimony of her friends because I was at a class in Oxford. But the long story short, this was not a girl that set out that night to go get crazy. And in one of the interviews with the FBI agent, Sullivan said that she had said something about getting a check. But to my understanding, she has not asked for anything. She basically just wants justice done, is what, we seem to see here in these court testimonies. But the fact is that, it's like they show her this video of the night, and she's like, I remember this part. I don't remember this part. And there's a part where she gets up out of the hot tub, and he gets up and he follows her. And so they question her a lot about that. But in his testimony to the FBI agents, the first time he said that I think he said that he led her in there. And the second one, they walked into the bedroom hand in hand. And neither of those things are correct in, the testimony. So it's like we see some inconsistencies in his statement. But the biggest part that seemed to really hit me was the part where she thought she was going, and she said multiple times, I felt safe because I thought it was me and my 2 friends and a guy our age. And then it turned out that it changed. And at some point, Sullivan's son shows up, and then another young guy shows up with a woman. And, so it's like there was other things going on. But in her mind, she was at this young man's house that was just a year or 2 older than her, and she was in his hot tub, and she was with her friends, and it was a safe environment.
It's gross. All of it's gross. I hope that, parents of young men, I tell you, if you ever have the opportunity to go sit through a rape trial, I'm not looking at it like a spectator sport, but it could be a hell of a learning curve for you. Yeah. The first time I ever did it was the other day, and having to see that and hear that. Guys, if you're ever doing something like this, trying to take advantage of a girl, or maybe she's just drunk and you're both drunk and you're having fun and all that good stuff, and these things can be turned around quick, and things can escalate quick, and you can find yourself in this situation. Now, obviously, I don't think this was just that, but I'm just making a point here. Young men could pay attention to this and learn, and girls too, for that matter. Obviously, I know I've used it as a lesson for my daughter. Like when you go out and you get hammered, these are the things that could lead to. And to hear your story, and I wasn't even aware of that she had only had that 1 beer, which obviously that raises the question: was she drugged? And I know some of these drugs, some of these date rape drugs, from my understanding, can be out of the system within 30 minutes, according to conversations that I had with some people, with narcotics and all that stuff. And I was never aware of that. You always, so even if she went to the hospital, had a rape kit done, had blood work done, anything they could have possibly allegedly given her would have already been out of her system potentially. Right.
And I think the thing is to stay objective, because he still has not been convicted. His side of the story, he's told, but I do need to say that it seems very unlikely that he And I think one of the things that I heard somebody say is, look at that guy and look at this girl. There's just not a way that she's going to go home and sleep with him. And there's been arguments, whether back and forth, whether she was trying to get to his money, that kind of thing. But she testified yesterday that she didn't even know who he was, that she didn't know who he was as far as his position or his money until well after the fact, as far as, when people are saying she was trying to actually extort him. And that said, that kind of takes some of the wind out of that argument.
Well,
but in the
also,
end,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, in the end, we'll hear from the jury, hopefully today. I mean, it could take longer than a day of discussion, but they will be, doing closing arguments today and sending it to the jury.
Yeah, maybe I give humanity too much credit here, but I would think, and having owned bars and ran bars for as long as I did and partied and all that stuff, I'm just going to speculate that, talking about was she doing this for the money thing? I don't think at 19 years old, you're looking at the old man across the bar and thinking, I'm going to go back to his house, I'm going to do this stuff, and I'm going to get paid. Don't even know anything about this guy. You know what I mean?
Especially not on a night you're wearing jeans and tennis shoes and a cardigan and you're out with your friend's mom.
Yeah, that don't line up. It's one thing if your booty's hanging out the bottom of a short. Potentially you could maybe make that argument you left there looking for attention, so on and so forth. But that wasn't the case this night. I'm still not saying that gives anybody the right to do it. I'm just saying there's things you wear to draw attention to yourself, and there's things you wear not to. And
right, exactly.
And she was clearly not trying to draw any sexual or that kind of attention, that thirst trap type attention to herself this evening that would typically attract an old man or any man for that matter. All right, Therese, thank you. Maybe we'll recap this tomorrow if we get a verdict today. I really appreciate you taking the time this morning. She's got a great article up, guys, darkhorsepressnow.com. Go read it. Therese, thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. All right, we'll be right back after this break to close out hour one, and I'll start reading your texts, and we'll take some phone calls if y'all want to call. We'll be right back. Back in to the Clay Edwards Show. I'm trying to where I don't read an ad for this last little short segment, so you don't get commercials and news back to back like that. But I think now you can call this an ad if you want. I think it's a great time to talk about Gracie South Jiu-Jitsu and kickboxing. They offer, I'm talking to my girls out here today, they offer women's only self-defense classes. Now, if you're not in the right state of mind, I don't know how much that would help, but generally speaking, they offer women's self-defense classes taught by a female instructor in a non-male atmosphere, so there's no men in the room at all. So you can learn about self-defense and, how to potentially get yourself out of a bad situation if you're being taken advantage of by somebody or somebody's trying to rape you or whatever. They, just throwing this out there. I think it's a great point to bring up. And as a father of a daughter, I just want to make sure I mention that. Also, of course, they have adult jiu-jitsu taught by Hoist Gracie black belt, Chance Shepard. They have kickboxing, fitness kickboxing, and they offer kids jiu-jitsu. And, man, start learning it young, and you get yourself out of a lot of situations as you become an adult. I think that's really, really good to mention this. You can find them. Go do it. Try it for a week. It's free. First week's free. After that, if you tell them you heard it on the show, the Clay Edwards Show, you're going to get 20% off. That's Gracie South Jiu-Jitsu and Kickboxing. They got a location up there in Madison on Ridgecrest Drive and one in Pearl in Fairmont Plaza. You can check them out online, GracieSouth.com. Just throwing that out there, man. I mean, we got great sponsors here that can help you learn the skills you need to protect yourself, whether it's jiu-jitsu or a gun from Guns and Gear. Support these sponsors, get out there, get what you need to feel safe. And we'll be right back. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Got a whole another hour to go. Back live. I told y'all it was no sugar added. We ain't sweetening things up around here. That last hour should clarify that. Welcome back into the free range human show of choice. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Breaking rules when necessary. We broke some rules right there. Y'all always tell me, Clay, you don't talk enough about Rankin County. What about Rankin County? I've been on their butt last week. So I don't want to hear, I don't talk about it. We talk about it when necessary. We talk about it when necessary. So we're talking about it today. Hey, this segment going to be brought to you by our friends down at Stonington Farm Beef. Man, I tell you, I was looking at a video the other day, and it showed like some young men in it in their early 20s, late teens, early 20s. They all bean poles. They ain't eating enough protein. Men don't eat enough protein anymore. At least one meal a day, whether it's my lunch or dinner or mid-afternoon between lunch and dinner meal or brunch or breakfast, whichever one of my 12 meals a day, at least one of them is all meat. Whether it's a steak, some chicken wings, something. All meat. Men ain't eating enough protein. Parents, get your boys some protein and get them some of that all grass-fed, no grain, grass-fed, grass-finished beef from Stonington Farm down in South Mississippi, from Perkinston, Mississippi. But, hey, you ain't got to go there. They'll bring it to you. They come up here once a month. You can get ground beef, steaks. They got ribeyes, fillets, sirloin, so on and so forth. The hamburger meat's great. You can get beef ribs. They got it all. Check them out online, stoningtonfarm.com. It's grass-fed. It's grass-finished. It's antibiotic-free, steroid-free, and mRNA-free, Mississippi-raised, grass-fed beef. You will not regret it. Will not regret it. I'm telling you, that hamburger meat, I mean, the steaks are obviously great. But if you don't want to spend the kind of money on steaks, I get it. You can get, I think, hamburger meat's $5.99, $6.99 a pound. It kind of goes back and forth. It's worth it. Get you 10 pounds. Throw it in the freezer. It's individual. Each pound's individually IQ frozen, so it's fresh. Just defrost it, however you do it. Make whatever you're going to make. Burgers, meatloaf, dirty rice, hamburger helper, whatever. And tacos. I love the tacos with it. Anyway, check them out. StoningtonFarm.com. That's Stonington with 2 N's. Get some protein in the system. Less sugar, more protein. You thank me later. All right. Again, thanks, Therese, for calling in and going over that with us. Again, like what did Donald Trump call it? Locker room talk. The things men say around each other. About their sexual conquest and about women. I mean, look, the older I get, the grosser it gets. They're thinking back to some of the conversations. And sitting there in that court and hearing the defense talk about this rape trial and what went through, what that girl had to be going through, that's heart-wrenching. Absolutely heart-wrenching. So, again, I am actively pulling for a guilty plea. I'm not biased. I break rules around here. I don't follow the rule book that says you can't pick sides. You're in media. I absolutely pick sides. Absolutely pick sides. I believe that's why y'all tune into this, because I'm not going to pull punches. So we'll see how that shakes out. And how did they let a friend of his, a potential business associate, get onto the jury? How does that happen? We know how it happens. I want to read a few of your Guns and Gear text here. I guess it would help if I get closer to the microphone. Chad texts in on the Guns and Gear text line, says, Sullivan is a complete piece of crap. Rankin County is becoming less conservative by the day. 20 years ago, Sullivan would have been tossed out of the office by his ears the day after he pulled that crap. About 40 years ago, he would have been disappeared, and that would have been the end of it. He has no morals or character and does not deserve to breathe my oxygen. If guilty, I concur, and frankly, again, I'm taking the rape allegation off the table here when I say this. Just hearing what he's admitted to is enough for all that to happen, in Clay Edwards' opinion. Joe Rogan, unknown texter, Joe Rogan says, if cops would learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they'd handle a lot of situations without resulting in deadly force. I do agree with that. Unfortunately, we sure ask cops to do a lot for what they get paid to do, right? For the amount of money they get paid, we ain't talking about $100,000 a year beat cops here. So we want them to be cops. We want them to be black belt Brazilian jiu-jitsu experts. We want them to be social workers, mental health experts, and badasses. That's asking a lot for $25,000 a year. And that is asking a lot for what we pay these guys. Oh, not to mention they got to be grade A marksmen. So while I 100% agree with that in theory, I think execution is a different story. But yeah, wouldn't it be great if all cops were Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belts, mental health experts, and social workers? That'd be great. Frankly, I wish they were all judge, jury, and executioner sometimes. Let's see here. We're continuing on these texts. You guys, a great text today on the Guns and Gear text line. Thank y'all. Unknown texter says, Clay, isn't the AG's office prosecuting this case and not the Rankin DA? Yes. That does make me question my latter comment about potential corruption on the juror getting through. Danny says, Danny here, what about the underage drinking laws plus DUI means jail, no more partying? I think what Danny's saying there is, here's my opinion. Byron police should have been in Reed Pierce's at the time, or Dockery Grill, whatever it was, Dockery Grill. And actually, if my memory serves me correct, they actually were. After this incident, they went in there, maybe it was Byron, maybe it was AG's office. Different ones run sting operations for underage drinking. And they had a bartender that did, in fact, get arrested for selling drinks to minors. Know this for a fact. Hell, it was on the news. So it was after this event, maybe a week later, that they ran that sting operation and got the bartender selling to minors. And so he got the DUI. And what is it, like an 8-hour hold? You're supposed to have a 48-hour, 12-hour hold. There used to be a hold on a DUI. Unfortunately, in Hinds County, because of the jail situation, they're not taking any misdemeanors, DUIs included. So unless Byram has a holding cell, I guess they can't hold them. So it's a catch and release on your own recognizance type thing. I mean, you may bond out, but whatever. I mean, you don't ever actually go to jail. He was allowed to have his son come pick him up. If they had done what they were supposed to do and made him set this one out for about 8 hours or so, whatever the law calls for on DUIs, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. Now, we may be having a different one because he'd still be ripping and tearing, but we most likely wouldn't even be having this conversation. So there's that. But, I don't necessarily blame that 100% on Byram. That's just a dumpster fire that Hinds County, unfortunately, is until they get a new jail. I have nothing but respect for Tyree Jones, I'm sorry. I think he's done a great job. I think he's the right man for that, to be the captain of that ship. But we got to give him what it takes, what it needs to happen. All right, shifting gears a little bit here. I had David Archie in here the other day. And off air, I mentioned to him about a problem in his district. And that was as you're getting off of, I may have said it on the radio. I don't think I did. If you're going 220 north and you get off at the 49 Medgar Evers exit to come back 49 north, in the merge lane, there's potholes. So people are coming off and I mean bad ones, not ones you can run over. There are potholes there, creating a very dangerous situation where people are having to come straight off the exit onto 49 without being able to merge. You're just having to shoot straight on and hope no cars are coming. Ridiculous. He said he was going to call Willie Simmons to get it taken care of, and I'll be dang. That was Monday we had him in here. Today's Thursday. I got off that exit this morning, and those potholes were paved. Now, how right it's done, I don't know. I don't care. Promises made, promises kept. Can't believe y'all voted David Archie out. However, he's dropping the dime this morning and talking about some Hinds County voter fraud, maybe some election fraud. He believes he was cheated out. And you ain't got to twist my arm to believe in voter fraud and election fraud. But I do find it funny. I do find it funny when Democrats suddenly believe in voter fraud. But I like David. I hope he proves some voter fraud. It could bust things wide open in Hinds County. And I'm going to tell you what, this is a great example of why voter fraud is so bad. Because I think deep down most Democrats know Donald Trump got the election stolen from him, but it went to their guy's favor. So just like I would be doing, I would stick, if Donald Trump had stole the election and they could prove it, of course, they would have him hung in front of the White House, but I would stick my head in the sand too if my guy won. It was the benefactor of the theft. Because they all screamed it to the top of the mountaintops in 2016 that Trump stole the election. So voter fraud existed in their minds then, election corruption. But now that their guys did it, no, there were no cases brought. No, the courts don't agree. The courts never heard the cases to agree or disagree. We got some strange laws, these election laws around here for contesting them and stuff. There's not enough time to get your evidence together and contest it in a real world. Anyway, but we'll see what David Archie does. He's going to drop a dime this morning. Looking forward to hearing that. Let's go ahead. Let's take a break real quick. This is the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back on 103.9 FM. If you guys want to call in, 601-879-0002. The Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. We're going to shift gears. I want to talk about this Texas school teacher that got fired for being a racist on Twitter. And she wasn't white. Welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. I am live here on 103.9 FM WYAB, streaming worldwide as always, WYAB.com, as well as the TuneIn app and Alexa. Just search WYAB. And hey, as always, also, if you miss any of this, we podcast this thing. And it is up by 10 a.m. every weekday morning. Some weekends I put out a best of. Depends on how much time I had in the after the show. A lot of times I'll bust this up into different segments. So you got little 8, 9, 10 minute segments you can listen to. I haven't been doing that the last few days because we've had the kind of long, continuous topic shows. So it doesn't make sense to break it up. I will be taking those two segments with Therese and putting them as a standalone plus the whole show today. So please check that out. Share it to anybody share it with anyone who may be interested in it. The podcast numbers have doubled in the last 2 weeks again. Y'all just gangbusters. Right now, I think we're doing about, as I looked yesterday, at the end of the day yesterday, on a 7-day average, I'm doing about 13,000 downloads every 7 days. That's big. Thank y'all. All right, this segment real quick going to be brought to you by our folks over at, how about A1 Gear and Auto? Man, you got any problems with your vehicles, from a check engine light, AC not blowing cold, check engine light, get over there. They'll take care of all of it. But what they specialize in, a lot of people too, man, these roads are hell around here. Front ends need rebuilt a lot. Axles, truck, anyway. Your ball joints, all that stuff, they wear out. They go out a lot around here because the roads are so rough. They can take care of all that for you at A1 Gear and Auto. But what they specialize in is your rear end, your ring and pinion, your front end differential, all that stuff. Get over there. You hear, if you you know, sometimes you can give your vehicle gas. If it's rear-wheel drive, you feel a little sway, like it's kicking to the left or to the right. Take it straight to A1 Gear and Auto before your rear end falls out and let them check on it for you. And you could be losing power, all kind of things. And if you just go and got a new, everybody goes and gets these big Jeeps now, or these Jeeps, and they're jacking them up with these big wheels and tires. And you lose a lot of power from the factory when you do that if you don't upgrade the gear ratios in your front and rear end. You got to do it in the front too, or you won't be able to use your four-wheel drive, which I know most of y'all don't use it anyway, so you may not have to. But you definitely want to get your rear end done. Update it to a 412, 473, whatever. I don't remember all the ratios. That's what they do, not me. But get over there and check them out. A1 Gear and Auto, right there on 49 South in Florence. Go see Justin and my team over there. Great, great folks. Speaking of Florence, congratulations to Lance Varner for winning that seat over there. A good race between him and Jeremy Lee. It's one I paid attention to for a while. Jonathan Lee. Is it Jeremy Lee or Jeremy? Jeremy Lee. Jonathan Lee ran for mayor of Jackson a few years ago. Really, really should have been our mayor, but as life goes. All right, so there was a school teacher in Texas. I thought I saved the tweet here. Let's see if it'll take me to it. Well, that's the wrong one. All right, we'll just start here. A school teacher in Texas. Guys, I apologize. It is not, where's my bookmarks real quick? Because I know I saved this. Here we go. All bookmarks. Claire Kyle. A black school teacher in Texas hates white people. She's a self-admitted racist. Well, let me rephrase that. A former school teacher in Texas. Man, I know I saved this link, but let me hit my search here. I know, great live radio. I do apologize, but I want to make sure I get this right. So here's the New York Post article. This is what I was looking for. It says Texas teacher loses job after complaining that sister is dating a white man. She says, quote, "I enjoy being a racist." Again, this is from the New York Post. It says the Texas elementary school teacher is out of job after she posted racist statements on social media that included complaints about her sister dating a white man, according to the school system reports. Now, she was using a fake name, kind of a fake Twitter account, but somehow or another she had some pictures of her on there, and people tracked it down to who she was. The Mesquite Independent School District said in a statement Tuesday, the teacher, who is black, was... Now, black folks keep telling me they can't be racist, but she's a self-admitted racist. I got questions. Said Tuesday, who is black, was no longer with the school after officials became aware of alarming racist posts, as she wrote on X, formerly known as Twitter. Can we just, from this point forward, just X? It's called X. If I say X, I'm talking about the former Twitter. I don't like having to say both names now. It's just X. We ain't talking about the artist formerly known as Prince. Quote, as of this morning, the employee is no longer a part of the Mesquite ISD organization and is not eligible for rehire, school system said in a statement, adding officials can't say more because it's a personal matter. Nevertheless, the highly offensive statements posted to her X account do not reflect the values and standards of Mesquite ISD, and the school district condemns them in the strongest terms. The teacher wrote she was upset her sister was dating a white man and joked that she asked her boyfriend to kill him. Oh, it's always a joke. It's always a joke when it's them. Oh, I'm just joking. Just kidding. Just joshing you. Let's see here. In other posts, she used derogatory words for white people, the newspaper reported. The teacher, who used the social media name Claire Kyle, has deleted her account from the social media platform. The account name appeared to be an alias. The teacher called herself a black supremacist. So we told y'all that they existed, them and the rainbow supremacist. She called herself a black supremacist in her social media account bio and hinted that her job knew about the post before she lost her job. She said, yes, y'all have found my job. They told me to delete the post, but my job is safe since I did not directly wish harm on all white people. They laughed and told me to watch what I say and I'll be good to go. Being a great teacher pays off very well when they know your true self. Says the teacher taught third grade for 3 years at Thompson Elementary School and taught at the district for 4 years. See, this is what we be talking about. Now, I know I got some school teacher friends. I know we have lots of great school teachers that listen to this show. Thank y'all for what you do. But just like when I talk about JPD, I don't want to feel like I'm throwing the baby out with the bathwater, because I know there's good cops too. But if you're good at what you do and you know you're not grooming these kids, I'm not talking to you here. You can sit this one out. We love y'all. This is what we're talking about. This is them TikTok teachers. It's okay to sit in the classroom and what is she teaching your kids in third grade if she's teaching and preaching this kind of hate online? Just like the LGBTQ LMNOP trans nut jobs. The rainbow supremacy. Got that nonsense hanging in classrooms. You don't think she's teaching your kids low-key racism? You don't think she's teaching that? I do. Good job to Texas. This is why we talk so much about this. This is why they hate accounts like Libs of TikTok and the Clay Edwards Show. This is why they constantly try to cancel us, because we expose this stuff and we're not afraid to talk about it. I want to talk to my black friends and listeners for a minute. I expose these things and I talk about these things when most other white hosts won't, because I want you to see the stories through my lens, through my lived experience. I want you to know that this stuff is out there and that it is a two-way street. The racism ain't just a one-way street. That's why I do this. Eventually, a big group of us are going to end up meeting back in the middle and understanding why each side feels the way they do about this stuff. I don't expose this and talk about it to be a racist. I'm doing it because I want to erase racism. I want you to see that hate comes from both sides. So that's why I talk about these things. That's why I expose these things. Let's read some text here on the Guns and Gear text line. Thaddeus says, blacks can be racist. I went to JPS and they showed us nothing but civil rights videos of blacks being done wrong by whites. Movies like Ruby Bridges, it's like they were programming us to hate whites. This is coming from a JPS grad. Cool black dude that I know. Been follower. I don't like using the word follower. We've been associates on social media for the last 3-4 years. Good dude here. He also likes heavy metal. Big Megadeth fan. Shout out to Thaddeus this morning. Let's see. Wild Bill says, you took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say the news media left say blacks and minorities can't be racist. College professors are brainwashing students while in college, and in return, these students who become teachers spread this to K through 12 students. Look, it's one big circle. Yeah, critical race theory is the word I was looking for a second ago, too. You don't think she's low-key teaching critical race theory to third graders? And what I'm guessing is probably a predominantly white school district? I don't know that. I'm just pure speculation, simply based on the fact that she got fired. Because I don't think she would have been if she wasn't teaching a lot of white students and their parents found out and called and raised hell, praised Dale with the school district. Let's take a break real quick. Come back. We're gonna keep Texas in our hearts this morning. I want to talk about some immigration stuff, and I'm gonna come back to what I keep saying. I think it's time these blue cities and red states feel the crunch too of their immigration and bad voting decisions. We'll be right back on 103.9 FM WYAB. All right, welcome back into the Clay Edwards Show. This segment is going to be brought to you by Lakeland Glass and Tint for all your home, car, and business window tinting needs, automobile glass replacement needs, and vehicle wrap needs. Turn your vehicle into a rolling billboard or just change the color of it without having to commit to a high-dollar paint job that's permanent. Get a little fancy with it, man. I told y'all the other day I saw a $200,000 Range Rover with a flip-flop wrap on it. Look, I mean, it was tacky, but it looked good. I liked it. My South Jackson comes out of me every now and then. You can take the boy out of the trailer park, but you can't take the trailer park out the boy, except replace trailer park with a hood. Anyway, they can do it all, man. You know, and then your vehicle can become a write-off as an advertising thing if you go get it wrapped with your logo. So check out Lakeland Glass and Tint. You can schedule your appointments online at lakelandglassandtint.com or give them a call where quality matters. 601-946-1000. Lakeland Glass and Tint. All right. Let's see here. I am multitasking this morning. Let's see. Multiple different conversations going on. All right, so Guns and Gear text line. Sorry, the texts are coming in faster than I could try to read there for a second. Shout out to everybody texting this morning. The number is 769-241-1944 is the Guns and Gear text line. Unknown texter says, the literal definition of a racist is someone who believes one race is superior to all others. It kills me when I hear somebody say a certain race can't be racist. Anyone of any race can be racist against anyone of any race, including their own race. That's a great point. There's definitely some white-hating white liberals out there. Self-hating white liberals. So they definitely can. And, you know, the argument's always been that blacks can't be racist because they don't have power. Where don't black folks have power at? I mean, look at Jackson, Mississippi. I mean, literally, we have the greatest example of black Democrat leadership gone wrong right in Jackson, Mississippi. Now, I'm sure there's some capable black Democrats that can run a city. Just none of them seem to be running the one that we live closest to right now, or Canton for that matter. So, again, y'all get mad at me for pointing out that they're black, but that's all they tell you all day is they're black. I mean, they tell you all day, Jackson's a black city. It needs to be ran by black people. The guy managing the water needs to be black. The people taking out the garbage, picking up the garbage, need to be black. Black people need to serve black people. They're the ones that keep telling you this. And they keep hiring incompetent people to do it. Thank you, Judge Wingate, for pointing that out. It's like, well, you've had a black guy doing this for a long time, and it's not going so well for you. Maybe you should try this other guy, Ted Hennepin. Anyway, my favorite word, I digress. Oh, real quick, I do want to tap one thing off real quick about the Mesquite School District. Thank you, Bobcat, for these numbers. Says, here's the racial breakdowns of the Mesquite School District there in Texas, where the school teacher got fired for being a racist, for being a black supremacist. Her words, not mine. White Hispanic, 29.3%. White non-Hispanic, 26.6%. Black or African American non-Hispanic, 25.1%. Other Hispanic, 6.58%, and 2+ Hispanic. So it's overwhelmingly, it's roughly 30% Hispanic, 27% white, and 25% black. So it's about as equal of a school as you could have between white, black, and Mexican. That's actually really, really interesting information there. So I'm going to tell you what, y'all are underestimating our Mexican friends, our Hispanic friends, how conservative they actually are. I'm telling you, my heart, my instinct tells me long term. It may not happen short term with these borders busted wide open, but Texas stays red for a reason. You know, I'm sure there's some stats out there that could prove me wrong, but just my initial instincts is Texas stays red. It ain't just because white people in Texas are voting red. These Spaniards get over here and you start trying to teach all that LGBTQ trans black supremacy stuff to them, it ain't going to go well long term. They're going to turn into the Muslims real quick. Let's take a call. Hey, good morning. You're on there. Hello? Come on, guys. You call a radio station. I'm putting you on the air. All right, so speaking of the border, speaking of immigration, let's go back to that. I shared a tweet last night from Colin Ruggs. It's on my Twitter. You can go see it. Save JXN, or on my X. I don't like talking about X's. They're X's for a reason. I don't like having to call a platform X. I don't want any misunderstandings there. But Colin Ruggs posted this. It says, new Texas Governor Gregg Abbott reveals that he has bussed over 28,000 illegal immigrants to sanctuary cities like Washington, D.C., New York, and Chicago. After virtue signaling for years by calling themselves sanctuary cities, Democrats like NYC Mayor Adams are starting to sound a lot like far-right Republicans by calling for border security. Quote, we need to control the border. We need to call a state of emergency, and we need to properly fund this nation's crisis, New York Mayor Eric Adams said in a statement. So when Republicans say this, it's racist, but not when the left says it. I'm confused. And it's got a video here. It looks like people are wrapped around a city block behind barricade like they're waiting for a concert to open up, or they're giving away some free sneakers, or PlayStations are about to go on sale. Some new Jordans about to go on sale. Anyway, I think, and I know some people, look, this rubs even some of my conservative listeners the wrong way, but I think these black Democrat-led cities like Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, Louisiana, New Orleans, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Atlanta, Georgia, Memphis, Tennessee, Birmingham, Alabama, Washington, D.C., I think they need to feel, and let's throw a White Hill hole in there too, Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington. I think they need to feel the crunch. I think they need to be bussing some of these immigrants here and let them start absorbing their resources. Test these churches that like to get so political. I love it. I love it when you get political. But walk it like you talk it. Walk it like you talk it. Y'all do all this voting for Biden, riding for Biden. Back it up. Support these immigrants when they get here. Let them move into your house. Share your government assistance with them. Let them in front of you at the line, at the restaurant, at the store. Let them take your spot on the corner asking for change. Start sharing some of your resources with them. You want them here so bad. You keep voting for this. I ain't got no, my mind on immigration has changed a little bit. If they come in here to work, let's get them to work. If we ain't gonna do it as Americans, black or white, let's get them to work. We'll deal with the rest of it later. If they're coming here for the jobs that we don't want to do, let's let them do it. The rest of them, ship them right back out of here. I think we ought to start shipping a lot of y'all right out of here that just want to sit on the government tit all day and not do anything. Let's take a call real quick. Hey, Jerry, hold on a second, man. I'm going to go to the break and come back.
No, I'm good. I'll hold.
All right, cool. We got Jerry on hold. We're going to take a break real quick. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back into the last segment of the Clay Edwards Show on this Thursday here on 103.9 FM WYAB. All right, real quick, man. I got Jerry on hold. He held on for me, so let's hear what Jerry has to say. Hey, brother, you got about 2 minutes.
I won't take but a minute. Thank you. Good show. I'm going to talk about immigration just real quickly.
Sure.
Disagree with you a little bit. We don't have immigration. I don't mind legal immigration. I know people that have come into the country and done it the right way, paid their dues. What we have now is an invasion. We can't have an open border with the welfare system that we have, and what we have is a flood of people that are getting on government assistance, whether they're working or not. They're drawing on every resource that we have. We're having to hire dual language teachers in the school. They never learn English. I was out at the Renaissance Mall back during graduation and saw some kids with the Mexican flag draped around their shoulders at the fountain. And basically, they're here, okay, whether they're dreamers or not, they need to be American. And they can be proud of another country.
Hey, you know, if a white kid had been wearing an American flag at the water fountain, they would have been suspended from school.
Well, probably. I wouldn't say it, but I'm thinking to myself, we actually are having to spend so much money of taxpayer dollars in all of the counties because if they come in and can't speak English, we have to teach them in their native language. You can go in places like the Walmart in Ridgeland or in Canton, I know Ridgeland North. Man, it's like another country, and it's fine. But if I go to Honduras, I expect to have Spanish spoken, and I'm going to try to learn a few words. I didn't make that attempt. So legal immigration is fine, but we need to put limits on it, or we need to end the welfare system because that is an attractor, and they still have jobs, cash-paying jobs. And anyway, I'm for legal immigration right now.
Absolutely. I'd been a little facetious, of course, earlier.
No, I understand.
But you know, I'll gladly swap some. I'll gladly swap some hardworking illegals out for some of these son of a guns that are just sitting here sucking on the government tit all day.
No, and I agree with you on that. But the thing is, they need to be legally do it anyway. They're supposed to do it with green cards or E-Verify, but we have a workforce, owners and everybody else that wants cheap, reliable labor. But still,
Jerry,
every dollar they pay them, they're getting $5 in benefits and they're not contributing.
I got to cut you.
Thank you, man.
Hey, appreciate you, man. Great call. All right, thank you, Jerry. I could listen to Jerry rant about immigration all day. I agree with him 100%. Again, I can get a little facetious at times. But, hey, look, great show today. Thank you for all the participation. We'll be following the John Sullivan trial today, so follow me on social media. Follow Therese on social media for that. At Save Jackson, at Darkhorse Press now. I'll be back tomorrow. Close out the week with Sean Yurtkaran. Podcast will be available soon, ClayEdwardsShow.com.
Thanks for listening. Tune in tomorrow at 7 a.m. as the Clay Edwards Show discusses all that is going on in and around the city of Jackson.
This concludes our broadcast day.
Right here on 103.9 WYAB.